Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and this is how to use Shaymin. Now, Shaymin is another Pokemon with a 600 base stat total that has 100 in every base stat, so this Pokemon is going to be pretty powerful. That we have a lot of diversity, we have some speed scenarios that we can win out in, we just do really well with these kind of base stats. So we can be somewhat tanky, we can be somewhat offensive, just gives us a lot of room to breathe and kind of do whatever we need to do with Shaymin. So the base stats, while they might not look like a lot, remember, it's still like a base 100 hit point Pokemon, which is pretty rare and pretty powerful with base 100 in defenses. So even without investment, you're going to be tanky. With investment, you're going to be super tanky, and then that gives us a lot of freedom to have a little bit of speed here, maybe some offenses there. It's just a really good stat breakdown. Look at its typing. It is a pure grass type. Now, when it comes to pure grass type Pokemon, kind of on the fence about how the typing works because just a lot of weaknesses. So from a defensive standpoint, going to be a bit tricky to use because flying, poison, bug, fire, and ice weaknesses, and most time whenever you slap another ability to it, it doesn't really add too much else. So grass is going to be a pretty doom typing defensively, but it's still pretty good offensively, and then we do have some resistances to play around with. Ground, water, grass, and electric. Hopping into Pokemon Showdown, we're going to see how to use Shaymin. And if you just want an offensive Shaymin, that's going to be this one right here. You run timid, you go for that max speed investment, max special attack, then the rest really doesn't matter. Also, Shaymin has a lot of really good options right here because slap on a Life Orb, so now we outspeed whatever we can, and then we just go for Seed Flare. So Shaymin has one of the best grass type moves in the game. 85% accuracy, but 120 base power. So this kind of beats out a lot of other moves. Moves like Focus Blast that have 120 base power, but only 70% accuracy. Moves like Hydro Pump, same accuracy, less power. And this also gets Stab, but it is a signature move of a legendary Pokemon, so it does make sense. But it's an incredible move and a 40% chance to lower the target special defense by 2 stages. So not even 1 stage, that their special defense gets cut in half 4/10 of the time, which means somewhat reliable that if we really need it, you know, Seed Flare can clutch into a special defense drop, and then we just do another Seed Flare and the opponent gets knocked out. So it's a really good Pokemon for breaking down your opponent's defenses and then going for a sweep. So as long as we're getting those outspeeds, we're going to be really good. So Sticky Web, maybe some speed boosting, maybe if we have some status control on the team. So if you have a Pokemon that's like paralyzing some of your opponent's sweepers, or if you just remove your opponent's faster Pokemon with the rest of your team, Shaymin comes in and it cleans up really well. Now the main core of Shaymin is going to be that Seed Flare and the Synthesis, because with Synthesis, remember, we're a 100 base hit point Pokemon. Even without too much investment, 100 on defenses, everything, we're still going to be able to survive quite a few moves, and that just means, okay, we use Seed Flare, we Synthesis, then we Seed Flare, or we just kind of like search for those KO situations, because remember, Seed Flare can lower their special defense, and if they're not doing as much damage as we're doing to them, then that means we can just outpace them with the Synthesis, or if they are a setup kind of Pokemon, we can slowly whittle them away with that Seed Flare, get some damage across, and then use the Synthesis as we need. Also, Psychic. Shaymin does get access to Psychic, and it's actually a really powerful move on Shaymin when you consider like how powerful Seed Flare is. For example, a lot of grass type Pokemon have the poison typing attached to it, so Psychic is going to hit those Pokemon super effectively. So a Pokemon like Venusaur, now you can hit it super effective with a Psychic instead of getting 4 times resisted by your most powerful move. So that's just an option to consider right there. Psychic going to be pretty powerful. Now we can carry hidden power, but at the same time, it's a legendary Pokemon. Getting hidden power on legendary Pokemon, pretty difficult to do. That is just something we might have to consider. So Psychic, going to be your easy option, does coverage out really well. And then we have Earth Power. Earth Power, again, for the coverage, we can hit Fire-type Pokemon really well with this. So Pokemon that are resisting us, Steel-type Pokemon, we just throw out the Earth Power, we get that higher base damage in there from that 90 base power, super effective hits, and whatnot. Now, if we really need to kind of like strategize with Shaymin, the idea is, you know, you Seed Flare into like whatever other move you need. That if you really need that special defense drop, might as well try to go for it. Also, even under resisted circumstances, remember, Seed Flare has 120 base power. So with Stab, it's going up to 180 base power, so that means a Stab Earth Power is going to do as much as a resisted Seed Flare. Just keep that in mind while you try to consider your options when you plan out the next couple of turns. Same for Psychic, that unless you're being resisted, Seed Flare is just going to be a very powerful option, or if you're trying to save PP because it only has 8 PP, or if you don't want to dance around with the 85% accuracy. So those are a couple of the little intricacies with just a sweeping Shaymin. As for Tank Shaymin does really well, and the cool thing about it is Natural Cure. Major status conditions are cured when this Pokemon switches out, which means this Pokemon can be whatever tank you want it to be. That if you need a pure defensive tank, go for it. You go hit points defense, and then you slap on something like a Bold Nature. Now if you want a special defense tank, then it goes the other way around. Max out the hit points, max out the special defense, and then that means you're going to want a Calm Nature, and that's kind of it. The cool thing about Shaymin is that it's with that natural cure, with synthesis, with Leech Seed, with all these kind of tools that it has to really heal up well, you can run it as whatever beefy tank that you want to be. So say we already have a defensive or special defensive tank, depending on the opposite of the one that we're running on Shaymin, that means we can use Shaymin pretty much however we want. They bring in a physical Pokemon on this set, we go into our defensive tank, and then we wall it out, and then if they go into a special attacker, we bring in Shaymin, and it's going to give us a lot of really good freedoms. Now again, pure grass typing, going to hurt a bit. You don't want to switch into an ice type move or something like that that's going to be a bit devastating, but depending on what it is, if you're already in, you know, you can survive an ice beam, you can still set up against those kinds of Pokemon, and that's why we're going to be able to play it like this. Now another weird thing about grass type Pokemon is a lot of them get Leech Seed, which is one of the best stall moves in the game, that you do all the status damage and then you heal up for that amount. So while you're worrying about your defenses, if they're not hitting you super effective, then you have an awesome move like Leech Seed. So Leech Seed plus Leftovers is going to be giving you 3/16 of your health at the end of each turn, roughly. Even though it's 1/8 of their hit points, you might get a little less, a little more. You're just going to gain health, and then after that we can protect. So if we protect, then that means we're getting 6/16. So over 1/4 of our hit points back from just protecting. Then we have Seed Flare and Synthesis options. So Synthesis is going to give us a ton of health back, and Seed Flare means that we're going to be able to set up against Pokemon really well. That they're going for Calm Mind or something, if they use Calm Mind and we get that special defense drop, even though they're gaining special attack on us, we can still maybe edge them out with a Seed Flare. So, you know, we go Leech Seed, we go Seed Flare, we get the drop, now their special defenses are kind of neutral. If they don't knock us out directly, we get another Seed Flare, and now we can outpace some setup Pokemon like that. Then we can Synthesis, heal back up, go for the Leech Seed, and we're good to go. Also, the tanky diversity of Shaymin means you set up a Leech Seed against a physical Pokemon, say with the special defense set, then we switch into our physical tank, and now that physical tank is going to be getting healed up by your Leech Seed. So you just play around the opponent really hard with this, and you try to wall them out. Other move options, if you don't want to run Seed Flare, you don't have to. You can go for a move like Toxic. Toxic Burn plus Leech Seed is going to be brutal, and it means that now we're going to be like this huge stall Pokemon, that they don't directly 2-hit KO us. We can outstall them and get more damaging, because then we Leech Seed, we protect, we Synthesis, we throw out the Toxic, we protect, and now your opponent has nothing. Other options, potentially Healing Wish. We would want that instead of Toxic, so then we put Synthesis back on it. This just means that if we're in a bad situation, the opponent's team isn't something that you can really stall out, or you've already gotten rid of the Pokemon that you can stall out, then you just use Healing Wish, you bring back one of your sweepers, and then you clean up the late game really hard. You can do the same for any kind of Shaymin. That instead of that 4th move slot, you can just kind of go for a Healing Wish, or instead of Synthesis, you can go for Healing Wish. Just understand, alright, Seed Flare, Psychic, outspeeds, get my 1 or 2 KOs, use Healing Wish, and then bring back another Pokemon. Shaymin is not an early game Pokemon. It wants to clean up in the late game and really beat down some Pokemon that are trying to set up, or just kind of overwhelm anything slower than it. So that's how you use Shaymin. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a nice day. Thank you for watching.